Here's a typical kinematics question. They will give you either displacement, velocity, or acceleration. In this case, velocity. You should know that we could integrate that to find displacement, and we can differentiate it to find acceleration. And there is a slightly different concept called distance traveled, which I'll come to. So, the first thing to do, I think, in these situations is to sketch it. Can you stop the video and sketch it? Let's test your your sketching skills. Sketch it on the calculator. It's quite a complicated little graph, so don't bother to copy it onto the page. So, it looks like this. So what I did was, obviously typed it in, then went to draw, V window, and I hope the first thing you did was go to set the given domain. Then you did zoom auto and you got this. Now normally after zoom auto you'd press V window to sort out the Y min, but look, the origin is on the screen already. So we don't need to do that, and in fact we shouldn't set it to 0 because half of this is negative. So what does it mean to have velocity that's negative? Well, first of all of kinematics that's not inside vectors, all of kinematics that's not vectors is in a totally straight horizontal line. It's just the number line. It's either moving to the right or to the left. A negative velocity simply means it's moving to the left. It's still moving. It's moving very fast here. This is the fastest it gets. It's just moving to the left. So it's not reversing, really. It's moving to the left or it's moving to the right. When was the particle first at rest? So what does at rest means? It means velocity is equal to 0. It's this, and we can just use gsolve to find that. Write down the number of times the particle changes direction. Have a go at that yourself. Is it changing direction here? Well, no, because it's moving to the left fast. It slows down a bit. Still moving to the left. Then it speeds up a bit, slows down a bit. It's still moving. It's here. It is going to change direction. It's moving to the left here, moving to the right there. So the number of times it changes direction is 2. Find the acceleration of the particle after 2 seconds. Well, we could differentiate that. Can you differentiate that in your head? Particularly this. Now, I hope you didn't just say cos of 3t. This is a chain rule question, so you differentiate the inside, it's 3, you write that down, then you differentiate the outside, cos, so it's 3 times cos. But we don't need to differentiate that because we can do it on the calculator. Find the acceleration when t equals 2, so I'm trying to find the gradient there. So I go to sketch, tangent, and I type in the number 2, and I get a gradient of 4.6991. Oh, there is one little thing here that you may or may not, if you bothered to do it on your own calculator. Did you remember to set it to radians? All calculus questions are always in radians. It will not tell you in the question. It is definitely in radians because it's to do with differentiating and integrating. So make sure your calculator is correctly set up to do zoom, tangent, type in 2. Now I could press enter again to find the equation of the tangent, but it doesn't ask for that. I just ask for what the gradient is. There it is. And of course I could have typed that in menu 1 and used a d by dx. But it's really quite nice in menu 5. Find the maximum speed. Right, so what is speed? Is it velocity? Is it the same thing? Yes and no. It is the same as velocity, except velocity also has this idea of left or right. So, what is the maximum speed? Is the highest velocity going left or right? And it's clearly right down here. We can just see it visually. Gsolve minimum. And it's not that one. I'll move to the right. It's not that one. It's that one. So the y value is negative 4.778. That is the the sort of minimum velocity. So the maximum speed is plus 4.7787. Now let's say the last question is this. What is the total distance traveled? So distance traveled is an accumulation of moving to the left and moving to the right that doesn't cancel itself out. And so what I'm going to do, I can't integrate between 0 and 6 because some of it is negative, then this bit is positive, then this is negative. In other words, it's mostly moving to the left, but it is moving a little bit to the right. But distance traveled means adding up all of the distance it moved to the left, plus that distance it moves to the right, plus this distance it moves to the left. A really nice way of doing it is this. I'm going to do the integration here. It's clearly between 0 and 6. And I'm going to type this equation in here, but I want it always to be positive. So I'm going to put in a absolute value symbol. So options go across to numeric, absolute value of the equation, the absolute value of this. So it's always positive between 0 and 6. And when I press enter here, it's going to tell me the answer. It took a little bit of time because it's quite a complicated function and it's having to do the absolute value as well. So this is the total distance travelled, an accumulation of all the distance it travelled to the left plus all the distance it travelled to the right. Cheers.